With regard to innovation in service sector, literature also highlights the different type of approaches that can be taken by the firms. The first such approach is user-centric approach. Here, the idea is that while developing an innovative service, the idea at the focus of the firm will remain a consumer's individual needs, what are their preferences, what are the difficulties which are there in terms of understanding the needs and preferences. Moreover, the focus would be in order to ensure that the customer experience is enhanced and also that the organization is now focused toward maybe design thinking and trying to figure out a customer's journey in terms of using that particular service. It may also entail some kind of an ethnographic research also, where you will look at an individual customer, how they approach a particular service, how they experience that particular service. Say for example, you are developing a certain kind of an app which has to do with the travel, and there you identify that what are the different challenges which will be faced by the customer when they reach out to particular places, and how you will be trying to deal with those challenges as such. Overall idea is that the client is at the focus, and one very important characteristics of this user-centric approach is to undertake a feedback from the consumers and the loop between the ongoing feedback along with the innovation that is going on, in order to ensure that the product which finally comes into will be dealing with or will be catering to the requirement of the customers. Another approach can be technology driven approach. In fact, this is one area in which we have seen immense and considerable improvement and innovation in the last 4 to 5 decades. Here the technology becomes the focus. As new technologies emerge, their usage, their adaptation, and how they can either increase the efficiency of certain processes or how they can in fact create a new type of a product is rather looked at. So when internet came into picture, clearly you see that people are able to now take much more advantages from it, which might have been envisaged at a particular time. In fact, at that time when it was being when it started. So the focus then become an internet, and then how that can further enhance the services which are given either to the customers or to the companies as such. So the focus becomes the technology. Now, if you think from a point of view of the current technologies which are coming into picture, AI, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, so then how we can use them maybe in the existing product, or we can introduce new product based on them, maybe through augmented reality, through virtual reality experiences, and as a result innovation will happen in the service sector. The key focus of the companies tend to be the technology itself, and implication of the innovation can either lead to improvement in the service efficiency. It can maybe give them more personalized experience with respect to the service. It will increase the overall customers experiences by creating more convenience for them. And this will be the business innovation approach. Here the process of rethinking how services are generated, supplied, and then also monetized. Here organization establish innovative business models by experimenting with new revenue methods, alliances, value proposition, distribution channels, or customer segments. So through creative business model, this approach now focus on discovering new methods to capture value, differentiate from competitors, and generate a long-term competitive. Say for instance, you live in a city like Indore, where you realize that a lot of students from in and around the areas come, and they to get education, because it is the education hub of the Madhya Pradesh. Then you start with a particular facility to provide food late at a night, because you realize at that time not many food outlets are open, and students might need late night snacking. So you introduce that kind of maybe a business model where your shops are open, or you provide the food service only from, let us say, 11 in the night to 4 in the morning. So again, the idea here is the business model itself and what the creativity related to that business model only. So then in this particular approaches, clearly the focus is to pick up the right project, and the right project can be user centric, could be business centric, or could be technology centric. The idea is once again to have effective process and adequate resourcing. There various dimensions also need to be taken into consideration, what will be the concept, value proposition, etc. And those are also similar to the way maybe you will look at the innovation that will happen in the manufacturing. Clearly the parameters used will be different. Classification that exists in the literature, it talks about low volume and high volume innovation, low variety, high variety, coming from the work of Johnston and Clark, physical, human and information services as highlighted by Miles. Francis and Besant talk about major and minor innovation, and Schwenner talk about degree of labor intensity and customer interaction. So we will look at this classification also. So in case of low volume service, here the development and delivery of specialized, customized or personalized service to a very specific subset of the clients is referred, and the features are it basically focuses on meeting the specific requirements and preferences of a specific customer niche, and they could be underserved or may not be earlier catered to, and the target specialized market will have very little competition, large profit margin may be possible as such. In case of a high volume service innovation, as the name suggests, there the base to which the service will be provided would be rather large. So the customer base is very large, and it constitutes high volume service innovation. It aids to reach a diverse customer base by offering standardized services which will match to their needs of a diverse market sector, and profit margin may be lower because high volume, essentially the focus in this case, in order to earn profit, the volume should be large. So one very easy way to understand it, like if you see from the point of view of a catering business, which is a high volume business, and there you will find that the companies will be focusing on increasing the numbers, so the profit margin per person would be rather low. And if you do some kind of an innovation in that service, then you are trying to target high volume service innovation. On the other hand, if you are trying to innovate in the fine dining experience of the individuals, you will realize that the volumes would be very low, the profit margin per person are going to be relatively large, and the market competition would be very minimal also. So there you will see the distinction in terms of high volume and a low volume. So another type of classification comes based on low variety and high variety. So low variety service is here providing customers with a very limited set of standardized service. So if you go in a low budget airlines, you will find that they will give you a very specific menu, and you will be able to only get those items which are there in the menu, or you will be only able to pre-book them. If you look at the innovation maybe in the budget hotels, etc., they are the standard, everything, the amenities which are available are rather standardized, and these are available to the customer. On the other hand, you will find that if you go to maybe a luxury resort, etc., there much more variety is now available. The experience in the spa, wellness center, etc., you will find that it will be more of a high variety service innovation. Similarly, in a financial institution, the idea there is that they will be targeting different type of customers who may have different net worth, and they will design different type of investment portfolios for them. So if they have to design, there also you can see whether it would be a low volume or a high volume. So there will be a standardized kind of a portfolios which are being sold to masses. On the other hand, they may design special kind of financial or investment possibilities which are designed to individual customers. So high volume with lower variety, the target would be high volume, variety would be limited in this case. On the other hand, if you have high variety, then the volumes can be, in that case, would be limited, and a mix or match of this kind of a combination can help you in innovating in that particular domain. Also have this distinction where the idea is where and how this particular services are being transacted. So when you talk about physical one, clearly in a transportation services, domestic services, catering, there is this physical interaction of the service provider with the customer. Human services mostly coming from the government, public administration, medical, education, and then there is a information services. Now what we have seen in this case, that information services is many a time more technology focused, human services being more focused on the customers and their specific requirement. Physical, again, the business as well as the customer concerns are of importance there. In terms of major and minor service innovation, let us look at first major one. The major service, they are significant improvement or maybe a new service introduction. And say for example, when the online banking came, when the introduction of mobile payment system came, minor could be now when you already have an app and certain further features are being added to it. It's an incremental service innovation which will and they're basically changes to the existing product or an existing service which is being given. These advancements aim to improve the specific features. Maybe it will enhance the efficiency or the ease with which it is being used, and without fundamentally affecting the main service as such. For example, if you are already having a website, adding a chatbot which will help the customer, introducing a mobile app for a service. You already have a website, you also have now a mobile app, things like that. If you now look at the different stages which are there in terms of introducing an innovation in service, we have already highlighted that given the divergence in terms of the variety, the type of services which are being provided, it is very difficult to come up with a journalized model. But if you look at the major steps, would be there. First, of course, an identification of a problem. There you have to figure out what are the challenges, what is the customer demand, market trend, and if there is a technological breakthrough, can that be applied? Idea generation, that can be done through brainstorming sessions, idea competition, or maybe pulling inspiration from other industries, leading to a concept development. There you are looking at clearly clarifying the value proposition, identifying the customer category, specifying the service features and benefit. Lastly would be the implementation. So you start with identification of the problem, generate the idea, develop the concept, and then implement. So there are very general kind of stages which you see in terms of a service innovation. If you look at the different models which has been talked about in innovation, and in case of earlier discussion related to manufacturing, we have looked at those innovation models. But what about service sector? What is going on there? So there's one interesting reverse product cycle theory has come from Professor Richard, and he has looked at the way IT has changed the way things are being done during 70s, 80s and 90s. So when the new advents were made in information technology, initially what happened, it was realized that this kind of a tool can be used in order to improve the overall working. So the first thing which the companies and other organizations, institutions started to do, they begin with the computerization of their major record. So that helped them in improving the efficiency. Over a period of a time, you realize the similar organization, now they started using either internet and also started providing products online, in the sense that if you now go for an insurance sector, that most likely you will get your policy quotation online, and that in fact then improve the overall quality of the products which were being provided. Later, more and more services were being added. So learning from this particular experience of 70s, 80s and 90s, it has been pointed out that in case of a service innovation, maybe we are following this particular cycle, where initially this kind of a technology is being used to improve the efficiency. Later, it will improve the quality of the products which are available, leading to a final stage where now new services can be provided. As I said earlier, one specific example comes from insurance. You can apply that the similar kind of an example to maybe education sector, where initially you would find that the students were now being given the attendance records or maybe the fee payment records, they were being made digital. Over a period of a time, online fee payments mechanisms came. Now we are in a stage where online classes, tools, various videos or maybe material content is also shared with respect to the by the educator to the learner. So and you can do the similar exercises thinking from a banking sector also. So this has become a very prominent thought process in terms of if you want to talk about models with respect to the service innovation. However, this is not without its critique, because there are counter examples also. It may not be applicable into maybe as other kind of a service sectors as such. Moreover, it is very historically specific. It kind of builds on what has been the experience, and there is a possibility that it may not fit into all situations, but clearly it is one predominant thought process with respect to the service innovation. Now, talk about the different barriers which may come into, from the firm's point of view while coming up with a new innovation in the service sector. One very important challenge could be that there is no independent existence of, service and as of a service innovation. If you keep maybe sectors like healthcare, education apart, then if you are looking at maybe any kind of a service which is, let us say, with respect to call center, there it is aligned with certain product as such, or the services which may be defined. If you are talking about ERP methods, then again they are very organization specific. So there are linkages that the service sector may have either with the manufacturing or maybe with the direct customer as such. So in those cases there could be a barrier because you have to ensure that it works in that particular context in which the services has been used. There could be lack of resources. Intellectual property issues are going to be important because you realize that for those business models, particularly in a country like India, you may not be able to take a patent. In certain countries, it is possible that their business model can be patented, but not in India. Then with respect to maybe source code, you will have to find that copyright may be more important, whereas patents may not be appropriate method to use them. So intellectual property issues has to be thought about, they have to be dealt with. One has to look at what is the kind of service, is it possible that it can be patented, which is very unlikely. Then you have to see that if it is associated with some kind of a hardware and then if there is a linkage with that. So clearly the intellectual property issues has to be thought from a very different perspective when it comes to the service innovation. Now if those has not been done, it can lead to challenges in terms of using your intellectual property. We had a long discussion on how to make profits out of your intellectual property and what are the challenges there. If you are not able to define itself, then clearly this is going to be a much more problematic. Next is related to risk aversion, lack of customers' insight. Customers may face challenges in finding ample and accurate customer data, understanding their needs. Many a times there can be siloed organizational structure which might in fact affect the service innovation. So as I said earlier, the appropriability regime in case of service innovation will now focus on how organizations secure their service innovation and derive the economic benefit from them. As we have already pointed out that in case of an IP as a means for appropriate, the patents may play a limited role. More importance can be given to copyright and to the trademarks as such. Moreover, contracts like NDAs or non-compete agreements will be rather more important for those kinds of firms which are into maybe service innovation. And brand and reputation building can help them in taking advantage of their and will also stop the competitors to reproduce it. So if you look at from where we are today and what are the potential in terms of the service innovation, technology centric innovations are of course much highlighted. So we have looking at a phase where there are lot more work is being done in AI, ML, IoT, etc. So looking in future, clearly there is a possibility that these are going to be the prominent way, the way in which the services are being delivered. Moreover, customer involvement, co-creation, data piracy and security related issues are going to be of much concern. And augmented and virtual reality, it can be used by the businesses to create an immersive and interactive experience, product try-ons, virtual tools, remote help, etc. Customer centricity is definitely going to be important, and hyper personalization can be prioritized in order to give very customized services.